All right, you guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever you're watching this video. Hope it's a good time. So a lot of you guys were able to join the Zoom class today. We had near perfect attendance, and I know we would have had perfect attendance if everyone had been able to log on, because there were just a couple of you guys that weren't able to do that. And second period, at some point during the reading, about half the class got kicked off for some reason. So I didn't feel it was fair for some of you guys to go without hearing what we talked about. So that's why I'm going to be rereading Act 3, Scenes 4 through 5 for you guys right now. So we're starting off on page 121, and let's get to it. All right, so we are Capulet's mansion, and at this point, Romeo's killed Tybalt. He's been exiled. But we know he was also able to go visit Juliet on their wedding night. So they were still able to have that time together as a new husband and wife. So now for Act 3, Scene 4, we are in Capulet's mansion. Enter old Capulet, his wife, and Paris. Alright, things have fallen out, sir, so unluckily that we have had no time to move our daughter. Meaning that they haven't had time to talk to Juliet about marrying Paris. Look you, she loved her kinsman Tybalt dearly, and so did I. Well, we were born to die. 'Tis very late, she'll not come down tonight, I promise you, but for your company I would have been abed an hour ago. These times of woe offer no times to woo. Madame, good night, commend me to your daughter. There, Paris gives, I forgot to mention this when we read it today, Paris gives a little pun with the words woe and woo. They sound very much alike. So there he's saying, in these times of woes, in this time of heartache, of tribulation, of bad things going on, there is no time to woo. Essentially, there's no time for me to flirt and get your daughter to agree to marry me. All right, Lady Cap. I will, and I know her mind early tomorrow. Tonight, she's mewed up to her heaviness. So Paris offers to go in and comfort Juliet, but Capulet calls him back. Sir Paris, I will make a desperate tender of my child's love. I think she will be ruled in all respects by me. Nay more, I doubt it now. Meaning that I think Juliet will be ruled by me, meaning that she will listen to whatever I say. Wife, you go to her ere you go to bed. Acquaint her here of my son Paris's love, and bid her, mark you me, on Wednesday next. But soft, what day is this? Monday, my lord. So here Capulet tells his wife to go tell Juliet about the plan for her to marry Paris. We know that's what he means because he refers to Paris as his son. And he says, okay, we'll have the wedding on Wednesday. And Paris mentions that it's Monday, so 2 days. Monday, ha ha. Well, Wednesday is too soon. Yeah, I think so. A Thursday let it be. A Thursday tell her she'll be married to this noble earl. So instead of 2 days before the wedding, Capulet thinks that 3 days is more than enough time. Will you be ready? Do you like this haste? Well, keep no great ado, a friend or two, for hark you, Tybalt being slain so slate, it may be thought we held him carelessly, being our kinsman, if we revel much. Therefore we'll have some half a dozen friends, and there an end. But what say you to Thursday? My lord, I would that Thursday were tomorrow, meaning that Paris wishes that they could get married tomorrow, so he's that anxious and eager to marry her. But let's also take a look at what Capulet said here. He mentions Tybalt being slain recently, and he says, you know, he was our family. He was killed so recently that if we revel much, it'll be as if we held him carelessly, meaning that if we have a great celebration, it's going to be as though we don't care about him at all. So they don't want people to think that of them. So therefore, they will have some half a dozen friends, and there an end. So it's going to be a very small, intimate wedding. All right, line 30 with Capulet. Well, get you gone, a Thursday be it then. Go you to Juliet ere you go to bed. Prepare her, wife, against this wedding day. Farewell, my lord, light to my chamber, ho. Afore me, it is so very late that we may call it early by and by. Good night. All right, so he tells his wife to go let Juliet know about the news, and that is that. So they all exit. So that is the end of scene 4. Very, very short. There's a couple of literary devices here that you guys can pull out, like the pun that I mentioned. And actually, I think that might be it. Okay, so there's going to be more, some more in scene 5 since you guys have to finish your chems. All right, so scene 5's a little bit longer, so bear with me. So we are in Juliet's bedroom, and this is after their wedding night, so it's in the morning, and enter Romeo and Juliet aloft in the window. Wilt thou be gone? It is not yet near day. It was the nightingale, and not the lark, that pierced the fearful hollow of thine ear. Nightly she sings on yon pomegranate tree. Believe me, love, it was the nightingale. So they wake up and they hear this bird singing, and Juliet is trying to convince Romeo that it was not the lark singing, which is a bird that sings in the morning, but rather the nightingale, which is a bird that sings at night. It's in the name of the bird. So she's trying to convince Romeo, like, it's still nighttime. It was the nightingale singing. That means that you can still stay, because once it hits morning, Romeo has to head out to Mantua, where he's been exiled. It was the lark, the herald of the morn, no nightingale. Look, love, what envious streaks do lace the severing clouds in yonder east. Night's candles are burnt out, and jocund day stands tiptoe on the misty mountain tops. I must be gone and live, or stay and die. Yon light is not daylight, I know it. It is some meteor that the sun exhaled to be to thee this night a torch-bearer, and light thee on thy way to Mantua. Therefore stay yet, thou needest not to be gone. Let me be ta'en, let me be put to death. I am content, so thou wilt have it so. So he's saying, like, I'm okay with being killed if you're okay with it, if it means that I get to stay with you a little longer. I'll say yon gray is not the morning's eye, 'tis but the pale reflex of Cynthia's brow. Here we've got an allusion to Cynthia, she's the moon goddess. So he's saying, no, of course, you're right. It's not the sun that's coming out, but it's a reflection of the moon. Nor that is not the lark whose notes do beat the vaulty heaven so high above our heads. I have more care to stay than will to go. Come, death, and welcome. Juliet wills it so. How is it, my soul? Let's talk. It is not day. So those last few lines, he's kind of repeating what he said earlier on, where he's saying, I have more care to stay, like I'd rather stay and die, than will to go, than leave and still be alive without you. It is, hie hence, be gone away. It is the lark that sings so out of tune, straining harsh discords and unpleasing sharps. So here Juliet's acknowledging, like, oh, it's daytime, like she doesn't actually want Romeo to die. Some say the lark makes sweets division, this doth not so, for she divideth us. Some say the lark and loathed toad changed eyes, oh now I would they had changed voices too, since arm from arm that voice doth us affray, hunting thee hence with hunts up to the day. Oh now, be gone, more light and light it grows. More light and light, more dark and dark our woes. All right, Juliet gives us a great pun, not a funny one, so we can just call it a play on words here, around line 29 and 30, where she says, some say the lark makes sweet division. So we're looking at the word division here. And division, if you take a look on the left-hand side of your book, it means music. I was pointing at the wrong thing, music. So the lark makes sweet music. This doth not so. She doesn't agree with that because she divideth us, meaning that the time that the lark is singing is a time for Romeo to leave, which means that the lark is dividing Romeo and Juliet. Romeo also gives us a great example of juxtaposition in his one line here where he says, more light and light, meaning that the daylight is coming, more dark and dark our woes. So the daylight means that our darkness is coming here. All right, enter the nurse hastily. Remember, the nurse knows that Romeo is there. Madame, nurse, your lady mother is coming to your chamber. The day is broke. Be wary, look about. And so she exits. She just needed to warn Juliet that Romeo needs to head out. Then window, let day in and let life out. Meaning let the daylight come in and let life out is a great metaphor. She's referring to Romeo as life. So let Romeo out. He has to climb out the window. Farewell, farewell, one kiss and I'll descend. Art thou gone so, love, lord, I, husband, friend? I must hear from thee every day in the hour, for in a minute there are many days. Oh, by this count I shall be much in years, ere I again behold my Romeo. Farewell, I'll omit no opportunity that may convey my greetings, love, to thee. Oh, thinkest thou we shall ever meet again? I doubt it not, and all these woes shall serve for sweet discourses in our time to come. Meaning these woes, these challenges, are going to make our love even sweeter when we get to see each other once more. And then Juliet gives a great example of foreshadowing here. O God, I have an ill divining soul. Methinks I see thee now. Thou art so low as one dead in the bottom of a tomb. Either my eyesight fails or thou lookest pale. And trust me, love, in my eye, so do you. Dry sorrow drinks our blood. Adieu, adieu. All right, so let's take a look at the foreshadowing here. Juliet says, I have an ill divining soul, meaning she's got a really bad feeling. And I think I see you now so low, dead in the bottom of a tomb. So she gets this imagery of Romeo being dead in the tomb, and then calls him pale, and Romeo says, "You do look so pale as well." All right, but Romeo exits on that last grim note, and now Juliet is completely heartbroken. "Oh, Fortune, Fortune, all men call thee fickle. If thou art fickle, what dost thou with him that is renowned for faith? Be fickle, Fortune, for then I hope thou wilt not keep him long, but send him back." All right, enter her mother, Lady Capulet. "Ho, daughter, are you up?" "Who is that call? It is my lady mother. Is she not down so late or up so early? What unaccustomed cause procures her hither?" Why how now, Juliet?" "Madame, I am not well." Remember, she's like crying. "Evermore weeping for your cousin's death? What, wilt thou wash him from his grave with tears? And if thou couldst not make him live. Therefore have done. Some grief shows much of love, but much of grief shows still some want of wit." So Lady Capulet is basically telling Juliet, you're crying so much for your cousin, but we know she's actually crying about Romeo leaving. "Yet let me weep for such a feeling loss." And this is the beginning of Juliet being very ambiguous with her language towards her mother. Here Juliet's telling her, just let me cry to feel this loss that I have. We know that she means just let me cry for Romeo, but Lady Capulet takes that to mean that she just wants to keep crying for Tybalt's death. "So shall you feel the loss, but not the friend which you weep for. Feeling so the loss, I cannot choose but ever weep the friend. Well, girl, thou weepest not so much for his death, as that the villain that lives which slaughtered him." "What villain, madame?" "That same villain, Romeo. Villain and he be many miles asunder. God pardon him, I do with all my heart, yet no man like he doth grieve my heart." Meaning here, I do forgive Romeo, and we know she forgives him because she's married to him. Lady Capulet may take that to mean that she forgives Romeo just because she's kind of being the bigger person here. But then the next line's a little bit more ambiguous. She says, "Yet no man like he doth grieve my heart," meaning that Lady Capulet takes it to mean that Romeo's the reason why she's crying because he killed Tybalt. But we know that Romeo's the reason she's crying because he's been exiled. "That is because the traitor murderer lives. I, madame, from the reach of these my hands, would none but I might venge my cousin's death," meaning she wants to get her hands on Romeo. Lady Capulet thinks to kill him, but we know she means just to hold him because she loves him. "We will have vengeance for it, fear thou not. Then weep no more. I'll send to one in Mantua, where that same banished runagate doth live. Shall give him such an unaccustomed dram that he shall soon keep Tybalt company, and then I hope thou wilt be satisfied." So she's planning on sending someone to poison Romeo, that way he can die and be with Tybalt. "Indeed, I shall never be satisfied with Romeo till I behold him. Dead is my poor heart, for so for a kinsman vexed." Here we've got some more ambiguous language with the word dead. If you take a look at the way it's written in the text, it's got a dash on either side, which means that Juliet can use dead with either the phrase before or after those dashes. So the first phrase, Lady Capulet, takes it to mean that she won't be satisfied until she holds Romeo dead. Whereas Juliet actually means dead is my poor heart, she's so heartbroken. "Madame, if you could find out but a man to bear a poison, I would temper it, that Romeo should upon receipt thereof soon sleep in quiet," meaning she wants to temper or mess with the poison. Lady Capulet thinks it's to make the poison stronger. We know it means to weaken the poison so Romeo would just go to sleep, not actually die. "Oh, how my heart abhors to hear him named, and cannot come to him, to wreak the love I bore my cousin upon his body that hath slaughtered him. Find thou the means, and I'll find such a man. But now I'll tell thee joyful tidings, girl. And joy comes well in such a needy time. What are they, beseech your ladyship?" "Well, well, thou hast a careful father, child, one who, to put thee from thy heaviness, hath sorted out a sudden day of joy, that thou expectest not, nor I looked not for." "Madame, in happy time, what day is that?" "Marry, my child, early next Thursday morn, the gallant, young, and noble gentleman, the County Paris, at St. Peter's Church, shall happily make thee there a joyful bride." Meaning, the good news is you get to marry Paris. Yay! But not yay. "Now by St. Peter's Church and Peter too, he shall not make me there a joyful bride. I wonder at this haste that I must wed, ere he that should be a husband comes to woo. I pray you tell my lord and father, madam, I will not marry yet, and when I do, I swear it shall be Romeo, whom you know I hate, rather than Paris. These are news indeed. She's essentially saying, no, I'm not going to marry Paris. This is happening too fast, and I would rather marry Romeo, my enemy, than marry Paris. Here comes your father. Tell him so yourself, and see how he will take it at your hands. All right, so now enter Capulet and the nurse. When the sun sets, the earth doth the drizzle dew, but for the sunset of my brother's son, it rains downright. How now, a conduit, girl, what, still in tears? Evermore showering, and one little body thou counterfeits a bark, a sea, a wind. For still thy eyes, which I may call the sea, do ebb and flow with tears. The bark thy body is, sailing in this salt flood, the winds thy nights, who, raging with thy tears, and they with them, without a sudden calm, will overset thy tempest-tossed body. How now, wife, have you delivered to her our decree? All right, so this whole passage right here with Lord Capulet is a big extended metaphor. He calls Juliet's body a bark, which is another word for ship. And he's saying, like, she's crying so much that her tears have created this ocean around her, and she's a small little ship within all the tears. And then he says, wife, have you told her the good news? Ay, sir, but she will none. She gives you thanks. I would the fool were married to her grave. And he's about to get really mad. Soft, take me with you, wife. How, will she none? Doth she not give us thanks? Is she not proud? Doth she not count her blessed, unworthy as she is, that we have wrought so worthy a gentleman to be her bride? He's calling his daughter so unworthy, and he's saying, you know, she should be grateful that we got Paris to agree to marry her, because she would have never been able to pull someone like that on her own. Not proud you have, but thankful that you have. Proud can I never be of what I hate, but thankful even for hate that is meant love. So Juliet's saying, like, no, don't take this the wrong way. Like, I'm not proud of this. And she's saying, I am thankful, even if this thing that you intended to be a good thing for me is something that I would hate so much. So she's saying, like, thanks, but no thanks. How, chopped logic. What is this? Proud, and I thank you not, and yet not proud? Mistress minion you. Thank me no thankings, not proud me nor prouds, but fettle your fine joints against Thursday next, to go with Paris to St. Peter's Church, or I will drag thee on a hurdle thither. Out, you green sickness carrion, out, you baggage, you tallow face. He's saying essentially, you gotta get your butt to church and marry Paris, or else it's gonna be bad news for you. And this is just the beginning of him calling her all these terrible names. He calls her a mistress minion, which means like a spoiled brat. But even worse, he calls her green sickness carrion, which means pale-faced rotten meat. Fie, what, are you mad? Good father, I beseech you on my knees, hear me with patience, but to speak a word. Hang thee, young baggage, disobedient wretch. I tell thee what, get thee to church a Thursday, or never after look me in the face. Essentially saying, if you don't marry Paris on Thursday, never look at me again. Speak not, reply not, do not answer me, my fingers itch, meaning that he wants to hit her. Wife, we scarce thought us blessed that God had lent us but this only child, but now I see this one is one too much, and that we have a curse in having her out on her hilding. This, I think, is one of the most terrible things that Lord Capulet is telling Juliet right now. He says, God gave us this one child, and typically that's seen as like a beautiful gift. But then he says, but now I see this as one too much, and it's a curse in having her, meaning that you're one kid too much for us to have, and it's been a curse dealing with you. Like, I regret having you as a child. And the nurse is coming up to her defense in just a little bit. God in heaven bless her. You are to blame, my lord, to rate her so. And he's mad that the help is kind of talking back to him. And why, my lady wisdom? Hold your tongue, good prudence. Smatter with your gossips. Go. I speak no treason. Oh, God, a good end. May not one speak? Peace, you mumbling fool. Utter your gravity over a gossip's bowl, for here we need it not. You are too hot, meaning like angry. God's bread, it makes me mad. Day, night, work, play, alone, in company, still my care hath been to have her matched, and having now provided a gentleman of noble parentage, a fair demesnes, youthful and nobly lined, stuffed, as they say, with honorable parts, proportioned as one's thought would wish a man, and then to have a wretched pooling full of whining mabbit in her fortune's tender, to answer, I'll not wed, I cannot love. I am too young, I pray you pardon me. Here, those last kind of part, he's kind of mocking Juliet for asking him to not make her marry Paris. But he's saying, I went through all this work to find you the perfect man, and you're telling me no. But, and you will not wed, I'll pardon you. Graze where you will, you shall not house with me. Essentially, he's kicking her out. Look to it, think on it, I do not use to jest. Thursday is near, lay hand on heart, advise. And you be thine, I'll give you to my friend. So if you agree, like if you're mine and you agree to what I'm telling you, I'll give you to my friend Paris and things will be fine. But you be not, you disagree with this, hang, beg, starve, die in the streets, for my soul I'll never acknowledge thee. Nor what is mine shall never do thee good. Trust to it, bethink you, I'll not be forsworn. So if you don't agree to what I say, Juliet, you can hang, you can beg, you can starve in the streets, and I won't acknowledge you if I see you there. Essentially, he's further giving the idea that he's going to disown Juliet for disobeying him. And then he leaves. Is there no pity sitting in the clouds that sees into the bottom of my grief? Oh, sweet, my mother, cast me not away. Delay this marriage for a month, a week, or if you do not, make the bridal bed in that dim monument where Tybalt lies. So please, mother, delay the marriage or else kill me so I can be with Tybalt, like in the graveyard. Talk not to me, for I'll not speak a word. Do as thou wilt, for I have done with thee. So Lady Capulet also disowns her daughter. Now Juliet's turning to the last person that she has available to her. She's turning to the nurse for some source of comfort. Oh God, oh nurse, how shall this be prevented? My husband is on earth, my faith in heaven. How shall that faith return again to earth, unless that husband send it to me from heaven by leaving earth? Comfort me, counsel me. Alack, alack, that heaven should practice stratagems upon so soft a subject as myself. What sayest thou? Hast thou not a word of joy? Some comfort, nurse. So she's asking the nurse for her own opinion. I think we know that Juliet's hoping the nurse will tell her to go stay with Romeo. Faith, here it is. Romeo is banished, and all the world to nothing, that he dares never come back to challenge you. Or if he do, it needs must be by stealth, meaning that Romeo's gone, and there's really no life for you guys together unless he like sneaks in, but that's not really a way to live either. Then, since the case so stands as now it doth, I think it best you married with the county. Oh, he's a lovely gentleman. Romeo's a dishclout to him, meaning that Romeo's like a dish rag compared to the Paris. An eagle to madame hath not so green, so quick, so fair an eye as Paris has. So great simile there. Beshrew my very heart, I think you are happy in the second match, for it excels your first, or if it did not, your first is dead, or 'twere as good he were as living here, and you no use of him. There she's saying, you know, I think you'll be just as happy with Paris, if not more. Like, it excels your first, meaning Paris is much better. And even if it wasn't better than Romeo, Romeo's pretty much dead in your eyes because you can't see him and he's of no use to you anymore. Speakest thou from thy heart? And from my soul too, else beshrew them both. Amen. What? Well, thou hast comforted me marvelous much. Go in and tell my lady I am gone, having displeased my father to Lawrence's cell, to make confession and to be absolved. And here she's pretending to agree with what the nurse is advising her to do. So she says, tell my mom I went to go visit Friar Lawrence because I disobeyed my father, so I need to go confess my sins to him. Marry I will, and this is wisely done. All right, ancient damnation, O most wicked fiend. Is it more sin to wash me thus forsworn, or to dispraise my lord with that same tongue, which she hath praised him with above compare so many thousand times? Here she's kind of cursing at the nurse, being like, how dare she like say such terrible things about Romeo when earlier with that same time she was praising him. Go, counselor, thou in my bosom henceforth shall be twain. I'll to the friar to know his remedy. If all else fail, myself have power to die. So I'm going to go actually head out to see Friar Lawrence for his remedy, his solution to this. But if there's no solution or no remedy, then I'll kill myself. I have the power to die. So Juliet is feeling quite like upset right now. She doesn't really know what to do. Remember, she was only 13 years old, you guys, so she doesn't have that emotional maturity with how to deal with something like this, and I don't think anyone's ever ready to deal with a situation like this, no matter how old they are. But she's thinking very irrationally, so at least she's going to go talk to Friar Lawrence, and we'll see if he's able to talk some sense into her. For now, that's where we're at. The end of Act 3. We've got 2 more acts, you guys. Your gems are due by Thursday sometime, and hopefully I get to see you guys all on Zoom Thursday morning as well. But email me if you guys have questions, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!